Hey there, everyone. Michael Damon here with the latest episode of Starbeam.one, Stand Up and Shine and Shill. Yeah, we shill here from time to time. It is a show that I put together to keep people up to date with my project, Starbeam.one. It's modeled after the agile methodology of a stand-up, where you tell your teammates what you've been working on, what you're going to be working on, and any sort of friction points that you are encountering or may be encountering. And what I've added is so much more. Let's begin. Great. Hooray. Yes. So I usually do these on Tuesdays, and that was 4th of July yesterday. So I deferred until today. And, I felt inappropriate to be filming and kind of doing that sort of work on the nation's birthday. So I just waited until today, and here we are. It's on a Wednesday. I kind of circled the first week of the month. I'm getting kind of lazy. With my approach here, but one day off is not too bad. But let's move on to the program notes here. What's happening? This is kind of at the top of the show to keep people up to date with the latest news, any big news. And our one thing I am incorporating is, for better or for worse, and right now so far it's good, is the monthly volume, and we did 1659.85 in June. And that is up 54%, approximately 54% from May. So that's a good trajectory. We want to keep that going. And that's big news here. And we're doing 57 flares of volume right now, which is more than it was 2 weeks ago, right? So it's one of those things where we keep getting sales, and everything keeps on going in the right direction. I'm cautiously optimistic, and but there's always that sense for me, just with all the things that this is what being a programmer for over 20 years now. This is kind of what it does to you. There's always something around the corner that's going to get you, sort of thing. So I'm cautiously optimistic at this point, and I'm trying to keep the good news here and be present, as they say. And so. Moving on from there, it's great news with volume. Everything's looking great there. I am going to be changing up the alphas from the alpha schedule into betas. So we were going to have an alpha 5 on August 1st, and that will now be beta 1. And the reason for that is that there's been a few pieces of feedback from several people, actually, that say that, hey, this is actually better than alpha and better than beta. You can actually be RTM. So there are a few things I want to have in place before I actually do that first, but maybe they have a point. Maybe we could be moving to beta, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So we're going to have 3 betas, and then we're looking for an official version 1 launch on February 2024, and that will be 2 years that I have unveiled the preview, if all goes well. And so that's kind of where we are at right now, and we can move on to the next slide here. Okay, dashboard. Dashboard is available for anyone. You don't even have to be signed in. Just go up to the top right menu, hamburger menu, and scroll down to dashboard. Click on that, and that will take you to this screen. And I just kind of want to go over briefly kind of the major statistics. We're over 6,000 all-time sales right now, and then we've got the 800 for resales. For a total, we're approaching 7,000 total sales here. And I kind of jumped the gun. I want to go back up here. We're over 100 artists, and we have 238 active users, and 121 collectors in the system. And I really should start filtering these out by how many are active per day, because that's really kind of the important part. With any system that you build, you have a certain number, and a lot of systems like to inflate their numbers, but you really should be keeping track of how many people are active per day with artists and collectors. I should put that on a list of things to do, and by should, I mean I will. Okay, so from there, we've got our 24-hour volume still hovering around 57. We went down a little bit from this morning, which was 70. So we have lulls, but still, this is better than sometimes that I've had the show where it's like $1, and that was just a few months ago, sort of thing. And resales, I feel that we're going to get resales when we start really genuinely building a market. Really, the resales as time goes on, the licenses gain more value, and we're going to start seeing that they're just really low right now. They're not a lot of activity. And there's probably some things that we can do about that, but right now there's just not a lot of activity there. Everything's going into the primary sales, which is pretty awesome here, and $43 for the same as the regular sales at 43.31 flares. Because I keep saying flares and dollars, they're both exactly the same. They're interchangeable. 1 flare equals $1 US. And look at this. 5,000 total sales, and that is a really nice number, round number for a demo for once. And then our average sale price, remember when this was 0.25, or it was probably even like 0.15, I want to say, but now we're approaching 1.25 flares for an average sale. So every sale that we're making is that value there. So, traffic kind of holds still right now. We're hovering around 10,000 views or 10,000 connections, or active connections, signal arc connections. That's what it's measuring per month. And that's pretty good. That, I just remember when it was like 5,000 a few months ago. So heading in the right direction. And yeah, in the past week we've had, I always kind of cringe when I get here because we do seem to get users, but never on Monday and never on Tuesday. So, but in the past week we've had more than average of one per week. So we are still getting a lot of users and traffic in that regard. Scrolling down to licenses, about 35 to 50 licenses per day, and we're approaching 7,000 licenses all time issued, which is great. And this is so for sold, approaching 80 is kind of dropping a little bit. And I did explain this a little bit, and I forget the reason. I should have had this prepared. Excuse me here, but for this, I think it has to do with the pricing and the amount that is being issued per day, and that's why it's dropping a little bit there. But not too concerned about this because it's being replenished, I think is what it was, and so unsold still keeps increasing. Oh, that's what it was. Yes, this is the reason why it was increasing, is that we increased the capacity for artists. So we doubled the amount of capacity that artists could issue, and that's why it exploded, and that's why it has decreased, is because there's more inventory that is out there for people to purchase. And the other thing that we're running into right now is that we're getting a lot more artists than collectors. And so there's just a glut of, this is the kind of thing people are like, oh, you're making money. Well, let me jump on and sell a bunch more things there. And then before long, you have a lot of people that are just selling things, but they're not buying things because the collector pool that we have only goes so far. And so hopefully that kind of explains what's happening there. Not too concerned about it yet. There's a lot of things that we can put together to help that out, and hopefully we'll get to that in the next month or so. Okay, so moving on to the markets here, we have had some traditional. I'm really kind of worried about the traditional short term. Long term, I think it will turn around here, and you can see here featured is kind of taking the show away here, almost 3,000 all time for the featured market. And then finally, just kind of scrolling here to withdrawals. We have 43 total individuals that we've paid out almost $3,000 to. It's measured in flares here, but when we send the money out via Coinbase or PayPal, that is actual USD. So there you go. That is the stats for this week. Okay, so what did I do this past 2 weeks? Unfortunately, it's just mostly fires. I put out fires, and it was just one of those times where, a new thing popped up every other day or every day. And, for instance, we had Coinbase. Coinbase is starting to get really finicky. I've got a notice from one customer that says that, hey, we're going to just disable your account in September, and it's because of our standards. And they don't tell you what their standards are. There's no link. There's no information. They're just going to close down the account. So that removes Coinbase from a few people. And then all of a sudden, a person or one of our customers here that I have sent two payments to was denied the third time for no reason. Same thing. This is just part of our, contacted Coinbase support. It's just part of our standards, and we can't relay or explain why this is happening. And, one of those kind of things. And so I had to account for this situation, right? And the irony is that I had to resolve it by sending it to a cryptocurrency address, right? And that's like, that doesn't seem right to me at all, Coinbase, right? Like, you're denying me the access to sending it to a person on your network, but I can just go and use a cryptocurrency address anyway. You're really not making a good case for your value here. So there's that, and a few things else happened as well. The Twitter app still is providing really confusing errors. We're using V2, but the errors that are being thrown are in V1, and there's just that's an important part of our application, right? So I'm trying to figure out a way to fix that. And it's just one thing after another. And hopefully we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel here soon. All right, next slide. Okay, so what am I doing? Getting back to the announcement bot, you'll notice that this enforced email policy gets pushed down, unfortunately. I'm really hoping to get to that eventually soon here. But now, talking about Twitter and fixing the Twitter issues, I'm going to be fixing that and getting that working. And there's a few things around the announcement bot that I want to fix and to make a little bit better. So I'm going to be spending a few days on that. And then there's the notification configuration, which is important for the new wanted, and also a lot of other things too, is having the ability to specify which notifications you receive emails for. There's a lot of notifications that we have, and it's just being able to configure that, and also what emails you get notified about. So there's that, and then finally, hopefully we can finally get to the enforced email policy and get that taken care of. All right, friction points. Hide the Pain Herald has been my compatriot here for over a year now with any sort of friction points we're encountering with technology. It's usually Microsoft, and they are doing really good right now. I have to say, Microsoft, you're doing an excellent job, and not a lot of pain there. But Twitter, man, Twitter really is kind of, all the grief that you hear about in the news is true, especially with the API. It's just really, truly amazing to me how many billions of accounts that are around this API that it's supposedly supposed to serve, and there is absolutely no support for it. There's absolutely very, very few support for it, and actual Twitter employees are very few and far between, if at all. So it's very difficult to get any sort of support around this, and it's been a huge challenge. And finally, there's the resharper thing, and they're supposed to be working on that. We will see here. I'm probably going to start nagging them here about it next few weeks or so. All right, next slide. Moving on to the effectiveness levels, this is where I tell my teammates how I feel about certain aspects of the project, and I'm not feeling so good right now, mostly because of the schedule slipping. I think this was like a 7.5 or an 8 last time, and I'm just not feeling overall very confident, even though we are doing pretty good on volume. There's a part of me that also says, how long is this going to last, sort of thing. You never know, right? This is the thing, is that the volume has to keep going on, and we have to keep onboarding people. And right now we're just getting artists that want to sell, and the artists that we're attracting, which is, it's sort of ironic because these are the artists I want to attract, is that they have a very low follower and they're the starving artists, and I want to provide them a platform to do this, but they're just producing more art, and we don't have collectors that are matching that. So that's kind of getting to me. But I think long term this will take care of itself. I feel that we're going to get the collectors that we need, but that's kind of a pain point right now for me. So overall, it is kind of taking a hit at 6. Schedule, I just talked about that. That's just, I'm really, right now, the good news is that you take all the tasks right now and it goes until November, and we want to launch in February. So that's a lot of padding, and I think we'll be able to do a version 1 with that padding left over. Technology is kind of the bright spot. This technology is the development. It is kind of chugging in some areas, but not nearly as what it was before. Maybe it should be like an 8. I was just really excited to get that one bug fixed, and probably it's more like an 8 because it does chunk in some areas, and but still overall it's better. Marketing still 7. The announcement bot, even when it does have errors, we still get a lot of traction, a lot of engagement on Twitter from all the announcements, and hopefully the improvements I make will help that even more. Support is kind of tricky. I finally had my first support ticket. It was just a matter of time before that happened, where it was a little bit challenging for me, and that happened yesterday. And, is one of those kind of, right now, most of my support, I should say none of my support goes through what it's supposed to go through, and that's the crisp chat window, which is in the bottom right corner of starbeam.one site. So usually when you get support, you go into starbeam.one site, and then the support is there, but everyone kind of goes through Twitter, and so there's sort of like that, really like informal, kind of friendly, but this particular issue wasn't like that. It was kind of surprising to me, and I probably could have handled it a little bit differently, and kind of in hindsight, I got a little bit of retrospective going in my head about what I could have done better, but still sort of like I had an 8.5 on my support, and it's been like that for a while, and now it's kind of pegged down to a 7 at the moment because of this incident. Hopefully I can get better going forward. All right, that is it for this week. Just short and sweet, shorter. It's usually been like 20 minutes, even 25 or longer. But this week it's just going to be hopefully 15 minutes. And I just want to thank everyone out there for your support and everything that you've done to help Starbeam.one become what it is today. All the artists that are helping out. I know we have a lot of artists producing art, not a lot of collectors, but I still appreciate all the art that is produced and that is out there and available. I love every single one of you and every single one of your products too. And I hope that we can get these sold sooner than later, and hopefully we can start getting the resale market up and running as well in earnest. All right, with that, I just want to say thank you again, and until next time, stay bright out there and stay safe. Goodbye.